Not all gacha games are made for kids. Bright, vibrant worlds filled with happy characters running up and down fields of magic and dreams. Some gacha games are riddled with death, destruction, betrayal. Dark worlds filled with horrifying scenarios that define your very messed up existence. Path to Nowhere is one such title. It is a game that leaves you disgusted, excited, depressed, yet embraces that sense of accomplishment and satisfaction that you feel when you overcome something so terrible that you'll likely never experience anything like it ever again. Only you do. Over and over again. And you get scenes like this that are just so messed up in the very best way, masterfully voiced in English by a phenomenally talented voice cast.
You're finally awake. I've been waiting for you this whole time. You don't look well. Did you have a nightmare? Tell me, what did you dream about? Where are you going? It's not over between us yet. I won't give up easily. I can't take you away now, in this case. This body, you can just give it to me. Goodbye.
Welcome to Path of We're Fucked. Hey, my name is Stix and welcome back to the Worst Gacha Ever, a video series where I discuss a gacha and tell you guys what I thought in explicit detail as we attempt to find the worst gacha ever. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing to the channel, hitting that little bell notification, that way you remain up to date with every single thing that I post, and I post several times per month. Do not miss out. Let's go ahead and get walking because this path is long, arduous, and very dangerous. You start the game off leading a team of sinners, recruitable males and females on a dangerous classified mission into Syndicate territory. The Syndicate are lawless brigands determined to overthrow world order and bring humanity to its knees. You're introduced to a central character, Hecate, in your first battle, while slowly being walked through game mechanics. Path to Nowhere is a tower defense game. Your goal for the vast majority of stages is to eliminate waves of enemies while utilizing sinners at your disposal to protect yourself. Doesn't matter if they die, they're replaceable, except for my dear Cockalic. I love my cock with an intense fury, and I enjoy playing with my cock in both my hands every day. The bulk of the game takes place in battle. You can field a total of 6 sinners typically. Certain special stages limit the number of heroes that you can deploy, or limit your selection of deployable heroes. Towards the top of the screen, you'll notice several icons, the first being a little alien squid indicating how many total enemies are left within the stage. Directly to its right, you'll see what is the tentacruel, to the left icon's tentacool, denoting how many elite boss monsters are present in the stage. The third icon, the eyeball, shows how much sanity you currently possess. Sanity is essentially your life. If you hit 0, you're dead. At least that's what I assume happens. I've never hit 0 sanity myself, although an argument could be made that playing as many gacha games as I do requires you to be a little bit insane. Finally, the movement icon. Path to Nowhere functions differently to its main competitor, Arknight. In Arknight, you place down a unit, and once it's placed down, you can either desummon it or have it fall in combat, putting the unit into a global cooldown before development is available again. In Path to Nowhere, you can freely move your sinners around a limited number of times. How many times is dependent on the level, with stages varying from 15 to 30 from what I've witnessed. The combat specifically is auto. You don't have direct control over where or when your sinners attack, but you do have direct control over when and where their abilities are used and what targets they attack, providing some manual play for those of us that are less inclined to play a game that is full auto. And trust me, as you progress further into the game, and it continues to get progressively more difficult, you are going to appreciate manual control. Additionally, you possess a unique personal ability that you can find in the Potessa section menu. This ability has a limited number of charges that you accumulate over the course of a battle and can have a number of effects such as a heal, AoE damage, beneficial buffs. It's important to set this before each battle as it can have a detrimental effect on the outcome. Characters in this game are absolutely gorgeous. They're very different to what is traditionally found within the genre. They're realistic, they're largely adult, they possess a very dark aesthetic, very few of which could even be considered cute, except my cock. My cock is precious. I'm sure you'd love my cock as much as I do. I cannot stress how deeply I appreciate the tone and the setting of this game in a genre that is largely, and I apologize for the pun here, I really lack a better word to describe it, but dominated by anime games with either little kid characters or big booba women. It's a phenomenal change of pace seeing such real characters with real proportions and real designs. And don't get me wrong, I love my big titty elf waifus as much as the next guy, but sometimes it's good to experience something different, and the difference here is outstanding. While their models during scenes when looking at their profiles, both static and live 2D, are some of the best that I've seen in the genre, it also surprised me how good their models look in battle. This is one of the few or only tower defense gacha games I've seen not utilize chibi graphics for in-game models, and it works. Bringing the game and its characters to life is the incredibly talented voice cast. I think a great story can be told without voice acting, but I'm also of the opinion that a great story is only elevated by stellar voice acting with voices that fit the respective characters. I've heard the game in multiple languages, and every language does the game justice. Typically, Japanese dubs are substantially higher quality than English, than Chinese and Korean, but the English dub really captures the feel of the game exceptionally well. The characters have feeling, impact, and gravitas. Well, most of them. Some of the NPCs or the villains have laughably cliche and at times cringe-inducing voices, but the majority of the main voice casts have absolutely secured themselves as some of my favorite voice actors in Gacha. If I had to rank Path to Nowhere's English dub, I'd arguably have to put it in the top 5 for all Gacha games that I've played. There is just no contest. The voice acting really elevated the story from interesting to enthralling. From the first chapter until chapter 7, where I'm at currently, seeing new characters introduced, seeing the story slowly evolve, seeing insane moments unravel like this.
Go witness the end of this revelry. Whatever happens, don't look away, if you can do it. I'll be waiting for you at the end with all the answers you have been looking for.
These moments left me with chills, left me wanting so much more. I felt like I was playing an interactive movie. I'm used to gacha games being filled with long-winded, convoluted stories. While Path to Nowhere falls victim to this at times as well, there's no denying it is on a much smaller scale, as a vast number of chapters and their respective stories felt necessary. Most gacha games follow a similar formula when it comes to their narrative. You're an amnesiac, reborn god with powers unlike anything the world has ever seen. Every male wants to impart their seed into you, and every female wants you to do the same to them. Recruiting characters is done primarily to build your own harem, rather than because they're generally interesting characters with an impact on the story. Path to Nowhere is different. You start off deployed into a chaotic situation with a very low chance of success, given the enemies you're sent there to subdue. Slowly, you're introduced to several key characters that have a significant impact on the story, both allies and enemies. These are not trope characters, not funny sidekick, little yandere girl, quirky shy girl. These are characters with real, genuine personalities and interactions, and it is handled masterfully. The focus is clearly defined right from the very first chapter, and it sets a tone for everything to come. A dark, messed up psychological thriller isn't what you'd expect going into this, especially when you look at some of the ads for the game.
Chief, you look tired. Want me to help you relax? Chief, your hand is a bit cold.
And ultimately isn't even what this really is, as you'll slowly come to realize the more you play. Sinners come in various rarities. S, the most powerful, A, useful but typically lacking in utility or power, and B, filler characters so you don't feel too bad when every 10 pull results in no S-tier sinners. In the 2 months that I played, I managed to acquire 5 S-tier units, which seemed pretty decent. I did spend almost $100 over that 2-month period for premium currency and the VIP monthly membership, so in terms of whether it was worth it for my financial investment, not particularly. Serpent, however, was a very large reason why I managed to get as far as I did. She is absolutely broken with her enormous AoE damage, her crazy range and ability to break enemies, leaving them stunned and open for attack. My cock was one of my most powerful units. Not only does my cock deal pretty good damage, but I link with another unit, converting damage done into healing, allowing me to essentially have a frontline consisting of Serpent and my cock on her, penetrating enemies while remaining relatively healthy at all times, altering who I'm linked to where necessary. Eve was essentially 3 units in one. She could summon a powerful tank puppet, a smaller puppet that acted like a barricade, and since Eve can't attack herself, I'd often use her as a third barricade. She's in a wheelchair, so it's not like she'd outrun any of the enemies. Irene just dealt good damage as a mage with a powerful ultimate ability breaking enemies. And finally, LL, who I really wanted to use, but I already had some pretty decent supports and felt another wasn't really warranted, but man, she is a beautiful unit. Sinners function like most heroes traditionally do in gacha games. There are a total of 6 class archetypes: Endura, Fury, Umbra, Reticle, Arcane, and Catalyst, with each functioning more or less like a mage, archer, melee DPS, support, tank. They have their own individual levels. 90 seems to be the maximum at present. You level your units with disc coins, the general currency to purchase things in game, and mania essence, essentially accumulated XP that can be consumed in large quantities to level, with both being farmable via the cleansing operation and the rust. Every sinner has their own abilities, with skills being upgradable via skill modules, which you obtain via restricted area investigations and farmable materials. Materials are generally found within certain chapters and have individual rarities as well, with higher level skills requiring not only higher rarity materials but also skill modules. Shackling a sinner is to upgrade them via duplicates obtained via the gacha. This provides a variety of different benefits, either passive or direct. Crime brands function the same way that echoes do in Wuthering Waves, that artifacts do in Genshin Impact, or relics do in Honkai Star Rail. They have their own individual levels, power score, base stats, set buffs, making farming the correct crime brand for each sinner imperative. Sinners possess a compliance level, which is equivalent to most gacha games' affinity system, with higher levels of compliance providing larger and more beneficial stat boosts, among other rewards. And finally, outfits. All the good characters have outfits. Here's Serpent. Man, she looks good. Here is the skin I got from my cock. I love dressing my cock up before going into battle. These live 2D models are incredible. Outside of characters, there are a lot of game modes available. The Rust, which is where you'll farm the majority of what is necessary to upgrade your sinners. XP, disc coins, skill modules. This costs stamina, of course, so you'll be required to space out what you farm and how frequently. Or just do what I did and spend money on currency and use that currency to top up on 1200 stamina every day to farm mania essence. Admittedly, this is not advised. This city, where the bulk of the game takes place, you'll slowly push through all the available story via chapters and missions, which continue to unlock additional features. This sea, which houses the Oblivion Pit, a set number of battles that happen in sequence, rewarding you some sweet premium currency and items for first-time completion. Broken Frontline, which has several difficulty modes and different fights occurring on different days during the week. These involve various battles as you aim to accumulate a number of points to progress to further difficulties. And Eternal Nightmare, which is a set number of interconnected levels, requiring players make it out of a mania-infested area with pre-built characters that can be bought during your playthrough, equipped with items and upgraded. Every playthrough has its own save and is different to the last. There are always events going on. Right now there is the Rain Burst rerun. Events are important as they reward you with event currency, allowing you to purchase units that you wouldn't be able to otherwise, including additional gacha pulls, materials, currency. Sometimes it is best to just log in for dailies and then await events. These events will open up a lot of new opportunities for you. This is actually what I do in Arknights and Nikke. While the vast majority of the game takes place around either combat or story, we also have a base of operations. However, from what I've managed to accomplish within it, I found it to be relatively basic. You use it as a means of obtaining passive resources, more or less, which is fine, but other games have built a lot more utility and functionality into their base system. Although I guess maybe I missed the intricacies and the complexities of this base system somewhere. I did have fun playing Tetris, connecting all of my rooms together into something functional though. One thing I found of particular interest was the Bureau. There is an exclusive supply feature rewarding you with 120 stamina by logging in at 2 different points in the day. the archives, where you can not only learn more about your sinners, but the game itself, and be rewarded with a lot of premium currency for doing so. You can interrogate your sinners, which is always fun. They're the equivalent of character stories and allow for you to deepen your bond with each respective character. You'll find an option to dispatch sinners to various areas of the city, rewarding you with increasingly important sinner upgrade materials. And the record player, which allows for you to replay some of the best music the gacha genre has to offer. Path to Nowhere easily has one of the best soundtracks I've heard, surpassed maybe only by Punishing Grey Raven and Nikke. Whoever composed this selection of music was a freaking genius. Now let's address the two most important aspects of any gacha game. It's gacha and free-to-play friendliness. Gacha in Path to Nowhere is referred to as arrest, and you can tell at present my cock is up. So if you want my cock, this is the perfect time to pull. There are several types of arrest present in game. Rookie arrest, this is a discounted banner allowing you to pull 20 times for the price of 16. You're also guaranteed an S-rank sinner upon your first pull. This is incredibly friendly to new players and allows for rapid re-rolling for those interested in doing so. Routine arrests, which have an increased rate of specific S-rank sinner acquisition only, in this case, my cock. Event arrests, which feature new sinners and tend to happen alongside major story events. Limited arrests, which are event sinners that will not be introduced into the permanent pool after their run is over, meaning that if you miss this sinner, you'll have to wait for a rerun. Finally, regular arrest, which is the basic gacha featuring all available sinners. Every single form of arrest has its own individual pity. What this means is if the pity to obtain Serpent is 80 and you do 70 pulls, doing a further 10 pulls to hit pity on another banner will count towards that banner character only. Another area I find particularly friendly is that if you have a number of pulls present on a banner, even if the banner expires, you'll retain the pity you had on the now expired banner, making it easier to reach 80 pulls on the new one. I absolutely and wholeheartedly loathe when devs decide to reset pity every single banner. Path to Nowhere does feature a 50-50 when pulling on banners, meaning that if after 80 pulls you do not obtain the limited banner character, upon hitting 80 a second time, you'll be guaranteed the unit in question. I hate 50-50, I wish it didn't exist, but I understand why gacha studios do it. For reference, S-rank sinners have a 2% chance of acquisition, increasing to 2.84% after 50 arrests. A-rank sinners have an 18% chance with an increase to 21.58% after 50 arrests, and B-rank sinners have an 80% chance with a decrease to 75.58% after 50 arrests. There is a guild system present, but I've never really engaged in guild content in any gacha game. I find them to be highly irrelevant outside of donating materials to and receiving small rewards from daily. All of this could be a little bit daunting, a little bit overwhelming to navigate if it weren't for that handy little assist mode button located on the home screen. This allows you to quickly and easily move between what you've done and what you haven't, providing an idiot-proof daily system for people like me that often forget what they're doing or what they're supposed to be doing. This is further proven by the fact that I'd entirely forgotten this monthly emotion check was even a feature I could access manually. I thought it was just something that popped up when logging in, but it rewards you essentially for logging in every day, another reason to. Navigating on over to the cash shop, it's about what you'd expect. A VIP membership rewarding you for logging in and playing every day for $5 a month. Featured and daily packs are available that are all pretty good for their price. Outfits for people like my wife. Exchange, where you can expend a number of currencies you earn in game, the current event exchange to spend your event currency in the crystal top-up section. Honestly, Path to Nowhere is something that I never, ever expected. Now let's go ahead here and break down my rating. Content, 8 out of 10. There is so much to do, so much to expend stamina on. New events are always running. I've never had a point where I was left bored or without something to do. Difficulty, 7 out of 10. It definitely didn't start off easy, but it got progressively more difficult every chapter, leaving me needing to grind for several days at points before moving on to the next mission or chapter. Free-to-play friendliness, 7 out of 10. You're given a lot of opportunities to grind premium currency, the rates are really good, your pity carries over, and you're given a free max rarity unit on your first 10 pull. Gameplay, 8 out of 10. Being able to manually move my units around whenever I needed them moved was something that I just didn't know I needed out of a tower defense game. Coupled with the fast, fluid combat, this is some of the most fun I've had. Graphics, 7 out of 10. I loved the dark aesthetic. the beautiful character models. I was a little disappointed by the lack of flashy effects for abilities, but that was probably my only complaint graphically. Sound 8 out of 10. The music in this game was phenomenal. One of the best soundtracks I've heard. Story 9 out of 10. There are very few games that I would say stand out in terms of narrative. Path to Nowhere is one of those few. If the gameplay doesn't really pique your interest, then you should try this if only for the story and the soundtrack. Voice acting 9 out of 10. In terms of gacha games, this has one of the 5 best English dubs that I've heard. Not the best, that title belongs to Nikke, but arguably one up. World, 5 out of 10. There's a lot of variety in terms of backdrops, however, it all still very much feels very samey. I had hoped for a lot more variety, but that just wasn't the case. Fun, 8 out of 10. I had an absolute blast doing most of the content in this game, and there were very few points in my journey where I was not having fun. Overall, I would give this 76 cocks out of 100 sinners, or 7.6 out of 10. This is probably one of the 10 best gacha games that I've played, period. Hey you, where do you think you're going? Don't you close out of this tab. I didn't give you permission to do that. Sit your ass back down. Click one of the 2 videos that are gonna be on screen in just a moment and keep watching my content. Keep enjoying my content.